Hey guys, it's me, Ree, and today I am here with Maggie, who you may remember, but now she's going to be here to help me go through my vinyl collection. She has a couple of questions for us to answer.
So I've seen vinyl tags going around on YouTube and on Instagram, and we were going to do a specific one, but she is very much a beginner, and I am very much not an expert, but not, I've got significantly more than she does, so I came up with my own tag to see how we differ from beginning to about a year and a half's worth of collecting. So
she has a collection right here, and I'm just like,
I do.
Oh.
It's only like a third of my collection. I have over 200, and she thinks this tiny little bin full of my choices is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so number 1, Dreamboat Annie, your favorite find.
My favorite find. Gonna go ahead and pull out this Elton John Diamonds collection. It was one that I really, really wanted because it has all my favorites on it.
Nice. So mine is sort of obvious. There might be a little bit of glare because I have a sleeve on it, but this is Freddie Mercury's Mr. Bad Guy. This is the one solo album that he put out in 1985. This is like a gold mine for Queen fans, and it's usually really difficult to find. And I managed to find it in the first 2 months of sorting, through vinyl bins, because I was in Wales, because I lived in England for 6 months last year, and I was in a covered market with my mom in Cardiff, and we were waiting for our food, and I was going through some vinyl in a shop, and I almost screamed when I pulled this out, ran over, asked my mom for a 20, and then ran back and paid for it. So I have a gold mine that took me all of 3 shops to find, so yay. Okay. Number 2, an album that you would highly recommend to somebody. Not your favorite, but if you're gonna listen to this person, listen to this album.
Okay.
You store your vinyl sitting down and it hurts me.
Because I just pulled them out of that.
True.
And it's I have a whole stack.
There you go.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna say Amy Winehouse, Back to Black, because there's no bad song on this album, and if you've heard Amy Winehouse, you've probably heard Rehab, Back to Black, Tears Dry on Their Own, and those are some really great ones that everybody just kind of knows, but there are some that I'd never heard of on here, and they were just amazing, so I would definitely recommend this album if you want to get into Amy Winehouse.
Okay, so mine is going to be not a studio album, which I usually recommend. This is the David Bowie recording of his VH1 Storytellers from, I believe, 2001. So this was MTV and VH1 back in the early 2000s did these sort of studio sessions with artists where they performed live, they performed some of their sets. This is maybe my favorite live album of all time, and I love a good live album. This, partially because it has Gail Ann Dorsey on bass and you can hear her on vocals, but also because it's a really interesting set. It's got stuff like Life on Mars and, Rebel Rebel and Word on a Wing, but it's also got Can't Help Thinking About Me, Always Crashing in the Same Car, and it's also got a lot of lovely bits of just him talking to the audience, and so when you put it on, you kind of feel like you're having a conversation with David Bowie. So if you're at all a fan of David Bowie, highly, highly recommend this release. So I realized I forgot I have the list. So number 3 is Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player, a tip for a beginner. You're a beginner, so should I start this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, and I think Rhiannon's already well aware of this, but antique shops are your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Do not listen to, because I feel like the vinyl community is very sort of, stingy about antique store finds because they can be a little dirty, they can be a little warped. But I'll take cheap and slightly skippy over paying $90 for the same release. I've gotten records for $2 from record stores. I think I found one of my favorite finds for $1 there, which will come up later in this list. I think it's absolutely, highly, highly recommend, because where there are creepy doll heads, there are usually records, and you can form a lot of interesting relationships with the people that own these places too, so they'll give you maybe discounts, but also will let you know, hey, we have new stock in, maybe you can come and look through it and see what you like. So
I'd say don't be embarrassed about your stuff, because you're gonna see I have some very novelty stuff because I inherited a lot from my great-grandfather, and there are a lot of polkas, they're just a lot of Broadway stuff, and it can be embarrassing, but when it comes down to it, I'm glad I have it, because it's kind of my way of getting to know him better, because I wasn't able to get to know him before he passed away. Also, invest in this. It is vinyl cleaner.
Yes.
A lot of the stuff that I find is from antique stores, so it's skippy and it's dusty because these people don't take care of their stuff sometimes. This will not hurt your vinyls. In fact, mine came with a little rubber thing that you put over the labels, and it makes everything better.
And this is not something I've invested in yet, and I have a lot of records, so she's doing better than me. So
we're cleaning some first today.
We are. So number 4 is the first record you ever got. Do you remember what was the first one you ever got?
I think so, because I mean, it's definitely not the one that, like, I mean, aside from my grandfather just, like, inheriting these, it is...
Yes!
It's the Phantom of the Opera, and this is the original London cast recording.
Is the gatefold? Does it open? Yeah! Oh, shit!
It comes with a libretto, too, which has the entire script in it. There's pictures and sketches in here, like,
it's a nicely written book.
Yes. And it is very nice, and if you open it, I've shown this off. The sleeves inside even have pictures on them.
Yeah, oh god, that inner sleeve design is gorgeous.
It's really nice, and I'd highly recommend it.
So I have 2. So the first album I ever got, so like the first LP I ever got was this repressing of Queen 2, because I got this either right before or right after I saw Bohemian Rhapsody for the second time, back when it came out in 2018, and I was on a Queen binge, and this, hands down, is still one of my favorite albums that I own, even though it's a repress, because you can't find the original for cheaper than like $40 because it's one of their best. And this isn't really all that interesting because it's a repress, but I also have the first vintage thing I ever bought. First vintage thing I ever bought was this little Ant Music single by Adam and the Ants from, I think this is 1980. I got this in a record shop in Notting Hill because I was trying to get out of the rain. So you will see later how this is significant to my collection. So
it's all Adamant. Her collection is like very much so Adamant.
It's all Adamant.
It's mostly Adamant.
Okay, so number 5, Space Oddity, a novelty record. I know you have a lot of those.
I have a ton of novelty albums. Aside from like, I'm gonna pick 2 because these 2 are kind of like ones that I think are interesting, and I gotta flip through to find.
She's got so many just like laid out on the floor, whereas I have mine organized.
Because I have them in this.
Well, because I also had to transport mine to your house.
Yeah, so I had the racks there, and I'm gonna do. Can I find it? Because there's one that I really like. Here it is.
Ooh.
I have this one. I just think is really funny. It's Shaving Cream by Benny Bell. It's definitely a polka record, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I just think it's really funny. It's my great-grandfather's.
If you're not from southwestern Pennsylvania, like, polka is a thing here.
It's a thing here. I don't know why. Like, I went to a wedding last year, and there was polka playing.
It's a southwestern Pennsylvania thing. So yeah, the polka record's not out of place here, but it's definitely a novelty record.
And I have a few of these. It's the Disney World albums. This isn't the actual movie soundtrack. It's like, I guess back then, like, this was the Disneyland Choir, and they recorded these songs. And this is Lady and the Tramp. It's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Disney did a lot of those. They would do just the recordings from the film and not necessarily the soundtrack.
I did find the soundtrack.
You did? Yay! So mine is this little read-along adventure Dark Crystal 7-inch single. So what it is you take this out and you play it, and I think it plays at 45. It plays at 45 RPM, so like the normal single speed. And you play it and you read along, and it tells you the story of the Dark Crystal. This was expensive, but I was just like, I can't walk away from Dark Crystal because I love Jim Henson. And I don't play it a lot. It's mostly just one that I have to have, but it's really, really cute. And it's probably the only novelty record I actually own. So
wait, now that you pulled that out, I can show you this.
Oh boy.
I have one of those too, but it's actually like a huge one.
Yeah, the whole like, what speed does it spin at though? It probably speeds at 33. But.
Somebody ripped up the actual book itself.
Oh, so they ripped out the book. Okay. Yeah. All right. So number 6 is an obscure or underrated record.
Oh, I have one.
She knows.
I had this one planned. I gotta go through my pile.
She's gotta just sort her
maybe
pile.
Go ahead and
talk
about yours.
So mine is The Corporate World by Gail Ann Dorsey. She's one of my favorite, singers, songwriters, artists of all time. She played with David Bowie as part of his backing band from like the mid-90s up until he passed. And I discovered her because of that, but then a friend and I discovered that she has a solo album that you can really only get on eBay because it's not streaming on Spotify or anything. Her other albums are streaming on Spotify and things, but this one slaps. Like, it's very mid-80s rock, and apparently this is the album that caught Bowie's attention, that made him want to work with her, and you can see mine is signed because I went to see her in concert in January, and she's super, super nice and still absolutely a queen. So, what is yours?
Mine is the Dream Academy, and a lot of people know this band because of Life in a Northern Town. That's why I got it. I just really wanted to have Life in a Northern Town on vinyl, but their other music is actually really great. And if you're a fan of like punk and new wave, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this. And fun fact, my mother was telling me that Life in a Northern Town was filmed in Pittsburgh, or like
the music video?
Yeah, there's 2 music videos. One was filmed in England, one was filmed here, I believe. And so when everything kind of clears up, we're going on a field trip to go reenact Life in a Northern Town.
Okay, so this one is sort of like you don't really have to show anything off. I'm going to show something off, but this one is I Want It All, an artist whose discography you own the entirety of or want to own the entirety of. For clarification, this means my definition of discography is studio albums, because I know this question has floated around and people include these new releases or compilations and things, and with artists like the artists that we like, there's too many to ever own all of them, specifically for me, because one of my big desires is to have Bowie's entire discography, and he did 26 studio albums, and that's a lot. And I'd also want Queen, and they have 15 studio albums, and that's not including, their live at the BBC recording and stuff like that. So definitely just studio recordings.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one up. I have Madman Across the Water by Elton John, and I definitely want to try to get all of Elton John's stuff. I have a few. I have Captain Fantastic, I have Rock of the West Season, I have this one, and I have Diamonds, of course, but I definitely want to try to get more of his stuff because I got to see him in concert in 2018, and I've just been in love with him ever since.
I'm so jealous. So mine is kind of obvious. I mentioned him before, and as I said before, I'd like to have Queen and I'd like to have Bowie, but I do have almost the entirety of this man's discography, Mr. Adam Ant, and I'm including his work with Adam and the Ants, so when he had a backing band. So I didn't bring my entire collection because there's a lot. I brought this one, which is Strip, which she has feelings about, and then I also brought with me Manners and Physique, which is my personal favorite that nobody ever talks about. It's from 1989. It's wonderful. But I think the only one that I'm missing is his 2013 release, which I don't even know the name. I think it's like Blue Black Hussar and Marrying the Gunner's Daughter or something. It's like a really long title. And the only reason I don't have it is because I know I can get it like relatively easily on like Amazon, so I just haven't bothered yet. And I do have Wonderful. I just have it on CD and it lives in my car, and that's my road trip album. So you'll notice I'm a trash person. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I realize again, I have the list. So number 8 is, ironically, I named it Goody Two Shoes, which is, and I don't know if you'll be able to respond to this one, but an artist's second album that you think is better than their first. You don't have to own this one.
I'm gonna go ahead and do something a little out of the water with this one.
Go for it.
I don't know if this is gonna count or you're gonna smack me for this one. Where'd it go?
Honestly, you don't have a lot, so I'm not gonna smack you for much of it.
Yeah.
I'll smack you for other things.
Yeah, like she's gonna smack me eventually. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. Frozen 2.
Oh, that's valid.
I actually, I love Frozen 1. I really love Frozen 1. I know that songs are a little cheesy at times, but, it's one of my favorite Disney movies, but, I feel like this one just had a lot of heart to it, and, I didn't expect to bawl my eyes out.
Me either!
I watched it when I was not in a good place, and I was like, I don't know if this is making things better for me or worse.
Yeah.
And, Lost in the Woods was,
Lost in the Woods is, my favorite Disney number ever.
I just got shot. I literally felt like I'd been shot after that one. Then, right afterwards, just show yourself, and I'm like, oh, great, I'm bleeding out in the street.
The entire B-side of that album makes me cry like a baby.
Yeah, the side 1, I'm like, everything's happy. Then I get to side B, and I'm like, oh, God.
I watched Frozen 2 right after quarantine started, so I was just a mess.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so my response is going to be a repeat response, and it's probably the only repeat response I have, but Queen 2. I talked about this 2 minutes ago, how it's maybe one of my favorite Queen albums. It's not my favorite, but it's got a lot of great songs on here. I think it does a lot of justice to their early work. I think people sort of forget about their work pre-Bohemian Rhapsody, and this is definitely better than Self-Titled, which was their first album. Their first album's good, but this really sort of hones that, like, concept album kind of idea. And if you've never listened to Seven Seas of Rye, get your ass to Spotify and listen to it right now. It's my favorite song of all time. Oh god, Adam Ant is falling over. Stop.
What a tragedy.
Number 9. So this is just kind of a random recommendation that you have in your collection. So just something that you like that you think other people would like.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy, because like I was very surprised at how much I thoroughly enjoyed this.
That's just such a baller cover too.
Wait, it opens.
Gatefold! Oh, their hair.
Yeah,
70s hair.
I don't recommend the hair, but the album's great.
Okay, so my random recommendation is Toya's In the Court of the Crimson Queen. This is a re-release from last year. I think the album originally came out in 2004. This is a re-release with some remixes, and the single from this is Dance in the Hurricane, which is like one of my favorite songs. Toya was a punk new wave artist in the 70s, and that's how I got into her, because she was in a film called Jubilee that I really, really like. But this is her most recent release, and it's definitely like a dance album, and it's got a song on it called Latex Messiah that might be my favorite song on the album. But if you like sort of poppy dancey music, this is definitely highly, highly recommend, and it might be a gateway for you for new wave music. So
this is number 10.
Okay, number 10.
Okay.
An album with a crazy story. So either a crazy story associated with the album or a crazy story that you associate with the album.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one out. It's not really an
yeah.
album, but this is actually a Hallmark card. It's and it's NXS with Need You Tonight and Never Tears Apart. And like they still make these, but in my opinion, the music isn't as great as it was, because it was like,
you sound like my mother.
No, like the choices they're making. Yeah. Like, why would you put this in a card? This is actually a Valentine's Day card from my dad to my mother, and I just think it's really cute. And like, if a guy did this to me, I think I'd cry.
Okay. So mine is Nervous Night by the Hooters. So the Hooters are a Pennsylvania local band, or were a Pennsylvania local band. They were based in Philly, and my mother used to live in Philly. She used to work as a labor and delivery nurse at the Pennsylvania hospital, and we were antiquing one day, and my mom pulls this out of the pile and goes, and I expect her to go, oh, hey, like I had this album when I was a kid, because she does that to me a lot. But no, she goes, I delivered his kid, because again, she was a labor and delivery nurse. Apparently, my mother did help with the delivery of Eric Bazillion's child, as well as their managers, and apparently their manager's child was in the NICU, so in the neonatal intensive care unit, and she wouldn't go to sleep, and the classical music that they usually played for the babies wasn't working, and so my mom puts on a Paula Abdul tape that she had, and apparently that baby went right to sleep.
That's so funny.
So that's my weird 6 degrees of separation story from my vinyl collection.
Definitely your mom. That is 100% your mother. Okay, so this list is way longer than I thought. We have a lot of vinyl
I sent it to you beforehand. This is why I send you things beforehand.
Okay, well, I didn't look that hard, because my brain hurt that day, and I like her stories. I think my stories are kind of funny because I'm clueless, so I want to turn this into a little bit of a series. So until next Friday, have a fantastic week. We'll see ya.